What's up, guys, and welcome back to the Game Show Global Esports Cup. It's going to be Game 2 between Elite Wolves and Root Gaming. It was a slow game for Elite Wolves, but slow and steady apparently wins the race since they took Game 1, grabbed themselves a point, and Root Gaming now looking for some sort of response. Even after a good early game, just couldn't find their team fights. I'm Mikelorus, going to be joined by mrpdota for this second game. What do you think Root have to change? It feels like they were definitely lacking something, like a really safe primary initiator, like a Clockwork-esque hero.
It's it's curious to see to say what they can do with their draft. I certainly know that with the draft that they had, that they didn't scale well and they didn't play like they were privy to that fact. They played kind of like they could take higher on engagements or they could have a defense, could kind of scale well. So it's either that they draft some reliable initiation to actually continue to snowball, as they were starting to do very early on, or they secure themselves some sort of late game and look for that still kind of stagnant mid game after a good laning stage.
Reserve time.
Well, right now we're in for Game 2 right now, and it looks like the band's still a little bit of a mid-hate, yet still there's a hell of a lot of good heroes. Again, Io was untouched in the last draft. Maybe we're going to see something similar. Maybe we're going to see a first pick with, a rock monster or something like that. But outside of that, you got Nightstalker, you got Dazzle, Winter Wyvern, just a whole slew of powerful heroes to go for. And Elite Wolves, they first picked an Ember Spirit last game. Maybe it's time for that again.
Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised at all. I mean, Darkseer is another thing that they played decently often. They've been kind of subbing him out for the Slardar a lot recently. Maybe they just go kind of back for the same thing and don't try to overthink things with the lanes. As you mentioned, perhaps getting a little too cute, a little too greedy early on, and they didn't get enough momentum, but were able to take it out throughout the mid game. This game, perhaps, if they're able to get the early momentum on top of what they had throughout the rest of the game, they could close it out even sooner. So, yeah, I wouldn't be too surprised to see Evils go back for that. But, I mean, you mentioned it. Wyvern's still in the pool, as strong as she is. Definitely don't want to be able to give that up. So they'll pick it up early on, especially with the Darkseer still lying around. That opening of DS Winter Wyvern is super scary. If Root were able to get it.
It's been so long since I've seen that combo. I feel like it's always one of the two being banned out. But yeah, if you could somehow land those two together, just curse someone, vacuum them back in, and just watch as the enemies kill each other. That's the dream, right? You don't have to do anything. The enemies do it all for you.
Hands off keyboard. Easy.
Yeah, easy kills. So easy, you don't even have to do anything. Just press ultimate, win game. But it looks like it's going to be roles maybe swapped a little bit. Ember Spirit now grabbed by the Root Gaming side. That build from Smash in the last game definitely is far from the norm, and I don't expect we're going to see anything similar from Root. But a Silencer second pick for Root. This is definitely going to be interesting. They are now, in a sense, a little bit more prepared should a Darkseer pop up for Elite Wolves. So much so that they might just not want to go for that, but definitely a hero that can be exploited by sheer aggression, like Nightstalker levels of aggression.
Oh, North American Dota. What have you done?
You so silly.
Second pick Silencer is curious. Pull this out later on in the draft and I'll be a little bit more on board. But yeah, I mean, as you mentioned, this meta in general is just so aggressive early on with the Tusks and the Undyings, the Nightstalkers and the Dooms. And Silencer is a hero that does feast off of skirmishes, but if he gets shut down early and isn't able to start stealing intelligence and snowballing, yeah, I mean, I'm, first of all, a very big advocate for the fact that Silencer needs to be in a core role, and picking him up this early on feels like he's too counterable, but Root Gaming could definitely prove me wrong. Maybe eat my words here. We'll see what the response is from E-Wolves. It certainly looks like this is, if nothing else, at least made them think a bit.
Well, Silencer doesn't fare too well against the Spider, let me tell you that. But yeah, I think I'm on board with your assessment of Silencer. I feel like the real position you want to see the Silencer is in the last box and going for mid lane. Like, that's the ideal position for a Silencer, because you know your matchup already. Obviously, that's not going to be the case, as Elite Wolves are going to grab a Broodmother. No, not exactly the best hero up against Ember Spirit. You have to be very careful about how many Spiderlings you throw into that. It doesn't really play well with the Winter Wyvern. Very small amounts of synergies there. But this is a Broodmother rather early from the Elite Wolves side. And Dazzle should be banned out here, I think, from Root Gaming. That combo is just a little bit too obnoxious, especially up against Ember Silencer, who will just get demolished by it.
Mother comes. Oh boy. I feel like Root are probably overlooked that being available and weren't necessarily thinking of that being there. And I mean, Ember Spirit on paper counters Broodmother, but not until 20 minutes in, really, truthfully. And by then, Broodmother has already become such a force and such a menace on the map, garnering the attention of at least one hero at any given time, else you will lose your structures. So I feel like Elite Wolves are very happy to have picked up this Broodmother at this point. Um, yeah, Silencer, more than likely, if they planned on putting him in the safe line, may now be relegated to a support role. And yeah, I feel like that is a very underwhelming configuration for Root to assemble here. Svenben is an interesting one to come out. Of course, Sven deals very well with the Spiderlings having that great cleave available to him, as well as a Stormbolt. So yeah, and it looks like E-Wolves are going somewhat all in towards this Broodmother right now. And as it stands, it does seem like a good situation for her.
I feel like they just got done playing a Broodmother game without Broodmother, so their mindset is definitely there. I feel like a premium pick for Root Gaming right now should be the Spirit Breaker. Just trying to track down that Broodmother. You will be able to have Dust, and that will turn the game at least as much as they can into a little bit more of that skirmish-heavy game where Silencer, hiding behind the Spirit Breaker, would be able to, ideally survive those engagements and get some intelligence off of it as well. I feel like playing aggressive, trying to just actively search out for that Broodmother might be up Root Gaming's alley if this is going to be a core Silencer. Support Silencer. He just has to be careful not to get alone and has to be careful about the amount of Spiderlings that the Broodmother has. But already Root Gaming, they have to really struggle to actually effectively deal with this Broodmother. AoE, of course, at a premium, but single target initiation also. If you can get her down in the early game stages, kill her off 2, 3, 4 times, you're going to be feeling pretty good. Lich does really neither of those two things great, so it looks like this is going to be a response to the other picks from E-Wolves, not necessarily the Brood.
Yeah, they still don't do anything versus this Broodmother. Lich is a strong pick. Trying to figure out the lanes for Root, and I guess that's somewhat of an advantage for their draft thus far, is the versatility of it. Lich, of course, going to be in a 4 or 5. But right now, they don't really have any scary dual offlane combos, so perhaps we see the dual mid, secure a little bit more farm for Live for Your Love if he does end up picking up that Ember Spirit towards the mid lane.
10 seconds.
Yeah, I mean, accruing him some extra levels in farm early on could allow him to start to deal with that Broodmother earlier than is expected, but yeah, I still don't feel like they've dealt with it yet. And even if Ember has a dual lane mid, if they end up getting an IO Bristleback versus an Ember Spirit, that is extremely difficult for Ember Spirit to sustain through.
This is going to be really hard for Root Gaming already. What can they do against Bristleback? Frost Blast and run like hell, chain him down and hope that that's enough. They really don't have any great ways of cutting through this Bristleback. I mean, later on, if you could somehow get to his face, a farm Silencer or a farm Ember Spirit can make short work of the pig, but Elite Wolves, this Bristleback is going to be really hard to dislodge, and Lich isn't really a hero that does that really well. The armor is certainly nice up against the Bristleback, and now for Root Gaming, they're going to go ahead and grab an Axe.
Okay.
This Axe pick actually is going to do double duty. Great versus Broodmother, obviously everyone knows that, but it is also a tool to force the Bristleback to face you, and that is going to let you do full damage. I'm still not really sure what the game plan is here for Root. I feel like they just have a pile of good heroes, and that's about it.
Feels like a very Swiss Army type lineup. I mean, the uneasiness for their lineup has subsided a bit with this Axe pickup. As you mentioned, he deals well with both the Brood and the Bristle. So letting that slip through, maybe a little bit overlooked there from Elite Wolves, but they still have very few ways to disable or kite around this Bristle, aside from a couple of slows. But with the Warpath, I think he'll be fine. E-Wolves are going to look to skirmish, though, picking up this bounty. Roaming early on doesn't feel like he's going to get too much done. But certainly Track is going to help them out towards that mid-game. Maybe this indicates that they go a little bit more the fighting style Brood than the split pushing style. I guess that remains to be seen, but yeah. 1v1, Axe in the lane. Does well against the Brood, but a really good Brood player can still draw an even, if not win the lane. So, I mean, Elite Wolves are very comfortable with it, and we'll see how they end up rounding out their lineup. It seems like they still need at least one more core, probably for the safe lane, but we'll see. We'll see how they end up doing against this Ember Spirit. I still feel like the IO kind of works for them, but Bounty Hunter not the greatest hero in the 3 role. So
I don't know, for Elite Wolves, they could also be looking to just dual lane Bristleback Winter Wyvern, expecting not much resistance there, in which case the mid lane hero, or the last hero, let's say, should be looking for a very aggressive, at the very least, mindset. I mean, you'd also have to make sure that they're not too reliant on one big ultimate, so ordinarily I would say like Brewmaster would be decent here for E-Wolves, but up against Silencer and up against a Blinking Axe, probably drops in stock just a little bit. They want to be on the aggressive train. They really just want to get this Bristleback a little bit of an advantage, make him enough so that he has the S and Y or something like that, and then just ride the track gold train to victory, and really prevent Root Gaming from getting to the later stage where Silencer, Ember Spirit are really significant threats. It definitely was more on the offensive than Root, but Root, this final pick is going to decide where Silencer is actually going to go, if he's going to get farm, if he's going to be played as a support. I don't know, I feel like even though they have the Axe who wants to be a little bit active early on, they just don't really have the proper backup heroes to really be effective early on, unless they get, for some reason, really out of control really quickly.
So looking at E-Wolves' lineup, I'm kind of thinking Razor at this point, something of that nature at least, that wants to fight early on. As you mentioned, the dual lane of Wyvern Bristleback is definitely pretty scary and doesn't feel like is killable, if at least even if they don't have kill potential themselves. So I feel like a Razor could work out here up against the Ember Spirit, even 1v1 mid lane. Other heroes that kind of come to mind, Anti-Mage does really well versus all three cores, if only two of them are showing versus both cores of Root, if they end up picking that up late game. It does feel a little bit counteractive to the theme of their draft, which is pretty aggressive early on. But yeah, Storm Spirit a hero we pretty much haven't seen all of 6.85, so interesting for that to come out. Definitely does well against the Bounty Hunter. Not bad against the Wyvern if he's able to pick up the Orchid, and also deals decently with the Spiderlings.
Yeah, just being able to zip in with True Sight, and Broodmother can't really respond fast enough. I was gonna say for E-Wolves, like, they are even at a point where they can start looking at like Death Prophets and Warlocks, those like kind of weirder mid heroes, but they could definitely get away with that, just prepping up the Exorcism will tear him to shreds. But it is gonna be the Anti-Mage, as you said, a little bit more attractive now that the Storm Spirit's here. It's perhaps been a couple of weeks, couple of months, maybe, I don't know, but yeah, we all know how that works. Storm Spirit jumps in, feels pretty good, suddenly pop goes the Storm Spirit, and hopefully for Root Gaming there's no one next to that Storm, because that's sure as hell going to hurt a lot. This is going to slow down the game a touch from Elite Wolves, but still, late game, Anti-Mage, Bristleback, Broodmother, those are heroes you don't really want to be messing with.
Yeah, and the early game isn't weak for them by any stretch either. I mean, the Bounty Hunter is a little bit weak because he doesn't have necessarily a designated roaming target like a Chen or a solo offlaner to be picking off, but definitely feels like they can still fight early on with the Brood and the Bristleback. So feels like E-Wolves are going to be relevant throughout the game in this one. And for Root Gaming, having the Storm Ember in your 1-2 and the Silencer being a 4 position, it does kind of feel like you're going to need to get a lot done with this Orchid on the Storm and the Blink Dagger on the Axe, presumably, if those are built towards that kind of 15-minute mark. Feels like they're going to need to do a lot of work before the Anti-Mage starts to accrue farm.
All the spirits, like Earth included, are very much so finesse heroes, and they have to use that finesse, try to avoid those giant clashes early on in favor of just taking more poking and prodding type fights, and that is definitely possible to see from Root. But E-Wolves are a little bit more direct. They're a little bit more get in your face, beat you down. I'm pretty sure Bristleback is just the epitome of that. But here we are, Root have a kind of a balanced draft as far as finesse and brute force is concerned. They're going to be loading up towards the top lane with Stan King's Lich. Got Derp on the Silencer, Wu is on the Ember Spirit. Live for Your Love is going to be handling the mid Storm, and bottom lane it's Kaparos, hoping for the Broodmother lane, and it looks like he may not get it.
30 seconds to battle.
Yeah, for now, over 4-man movement over towards that Radiant jungle. It's going to be Smash picking up the Bristleback. He's going to be accompanied by Masoku on the Winter Wyvern. Van is going to be playing up on the Anti-Mage. Mystical is going to be roaming around on that Bounty Hunter. And finally, that's going to leave N3 or 4-4-4-4. It looks like he's upgraded from 3 to 4 on the Mother.
And the 4 ranked players are known to be the best anyway. So yeah, he's getting there. He's getting there. They're going to see the Broodmother up towards top, and this might prompt a change of lanes. The Storm Spirit's still going to grab his Bounty Rune, even though Broodmother was definitely looking for it. And it looks like, yeah, they now seeing the web are going to put the axe up towards top. This is probably the best lane you can expect to go up against the Broodmother. However, being in safe lane is definitely going to protect the Broodmother that much more. And the other 3 heroes that are going down towards bottom aren't going to be in for a super easy time, although it does seem like this is a lane that's more on the weaker end for E-Wolves, especially since Bounty Hunter you would expect to roam a little bit. It looks like these lanes should be, for the most part, won by Root. At least they get all of their lane assignments. They get all of their desired lane assignments.
Yeah. We'll see how it ends up.
Burn and Orb of Venom, is that enough? Stanking is here. He doesn't actually have anything to help out. He drops a sentry, but I don't know, I'm not sure if that's going to help the Ember Spirit. He will salve up. That'll be immediately canceled. A couple more right clicks. One more is needed.
Yeah, they should get
Winter
there.
Wyvern reach, not there. And it looks like Wu is going to take a long trip back to the base. Not first blood, so E-Wolves are kind of bummed about that, but still, right now, Anti-Mage is in a 1v0 lane, and he's perfectly fine with that.
Yeah, and when your Anti-Mage is in the off lane, and he's going to get that full couple waves of experience early on, that's really a great win early on. Derp on the Silencer is going to be stalked here by Mystico as well. But walking back under towards the cover of his tier 2. Everyone feeling a little scared right now from Root side early on. And kind of the only lane that's going favorably for them thus far is the one that contains the axe. But, I mean, the CS still favors E-Wolves for now. So early game, very preliminary thoughts looking good.
Well, Caparos is going to explode in farm, and unfortunately the CS Last Hit Deny is not really going to show us the tail. They're going to start again onto the Ember Spirit, who's gone for level 1 Flame Guard. It's not going to help him that much. 50 damage at this point is almost completely irrelevant. This time, Van joining the fray. Stanking's going to fall. First Blood will be drawn by E-Wolves in the end, and they'll also get a lot of damage to the Silencer as a kind of consolation bonus prize. Yeah, I mean, again, you would expect this Bounty Hunter to roam away. Maybe Root thought that the Bounty would be in mid lane by now, trying to poke at the Storm Spirit. It's definitely something that he is going to think about doing in a little bit, but if they can keep getting kills on these super soft heroes, then why the hell not? They have Blink and Mana Break. That's really all they need. They need also Arctic Burn, and that will be up in 15 seconds. So in that time, they're just going to chill, but for Root, they're not getting jack on this Ember Spirit.
Yeah, 11 CS already to Van's name as well. Double damage rune bottom. Doesn't seem like it's been scouted by the Dire side just yet. Radiant side have a ward looking at it. Top lane, cutting the wave, Caparos. Starting to assert dominance top lane, but still, I mean, the Broodmother's finding her farm and has some Spiderlings alive. Need to just look to split those up versus the Axe, and should be more than sustainable in this lane with the extra regen provided by those webs.
Round 2 on the bottom lane. Burn is up, and all of the targets are viable. Splinter Blast is back in the connect to 3. Double damage rune was spotted in, but they didn't anticipate them to actually go for this. I think the bluff was definitely not one that E-Wolves were willing to make, and, well, Derp will survive, albeit barely. No blink in from Van. Doesn't want to go too ham to try to get those kills, but still Silencer is really banged up and regenerating super slowly. It's possible for E-Wolves with this double damage rune, with the rest of it, to go aggressive onto someone else just to try to get a little bit of free damage.
There's no regen at all available to this defensive tri-lane left, and if they've clicked on these heroes, they're well aware of that, so they are going to have to ferry that out soon, and the aggression is probably just going to continue to ramp up from this side. Arctic Burn cooling down in 10 seconds. Ember only with the level 1 Flame Guard in a bit of trouble. Van going to be forced to blink back for now, but they can continue to go in here. They do need this level 2 onto Mystico, though. They need at least a Janata, if not maybe a Shuriken Toss to help out with these aggressive movements. There's still no regen coming out on the Courier. The bottle's flying out to mid lane, so if there's any window, it's got to be open now. And the 4-minute rune going to be picked up by Mystico bot lane. He does pick up that level 2, so we'll see if he picks up something like a Haste or a DD, able to go back in here bottom.
Well, this is spotted by the Radiant Observer Ward, so they know exactly where the Bounty Hunter is. Of course, last time it didn't really help them. Now he's going to go back down towards the bottom lane, and Root, I mean, they know about it. Will they actually respect it? That's another question entirely, because it seems like the Ember Spirit's still kind of posting up aggressively. The Janata hit is going to slow him down a touch. Looks like the Winter Wyvern is fast enough to lay some Arctic Burn, but he's going to dive a tower shot. That's a little bit too much for a Bounty Hunter. He will not fall there. Wyvern's going to do a lot of damage to Derp. And again, because there is no regen, this damage is going to stick for a very, very long time. This is a very rare case of an anti-mage offensive tri-lane actually being stronger than another tri-lane, because Lich and Silencer, they don't really want to fight, at least not with one another. If Lich was in the top lane, maybe that would be better even, just so that they could get more experience here.
Yeah, and they have absolutely no catch either. So, I mean, Mystico, we've seen how far forward he's been able to play thus far. And I mean, even if they aren't finding kills, as you alluded to before, Van's farming nicely. He's got 23 CS, which is as much as his mid laner, and his laning equivalent in this Wu Ember Spirit has 4 last hits.
And over towards mid, it's kind of going to be one of the slower lanes, although there's a lot of damage being put onto the Storm Spirit. He has the magic wand, so he should not die to this unless he gets too close. Oof! 20 HP, he will survive for a little while longer. But yeah, Smash and his opponent, Live for Your Love, they are pretty much tying up the lane. It's pretty much a moot lane, and that is, fine for the Storm Spirit. Really, his weakest point is pre-level 6. Now is able, in theory, to go around and help, but similarly for Smash, he's got the level 6 on himself. If he is going to arrive in the bottom lane, it will be spotted by the Radiant Observer Ward, but if he somehow gets to a lane undetected, then a level 6 Bristleback can just go to town on really anyone. Alternatively, stack up Ancients for himself or for the Anti-Mage.
Top lane, there's going to be a rotation in from Mystico. And Caparos has felt all too safe in this lane. He's going to pop the call now. He's going to get the dust off, and a couple of spins will bring the Brood low, but the Arctic Burn, they'll keep him back. Mystico almost going down here. They're going to continue to drag this one out. Caparos should be able to fall. And webbing into the trees, the Wyvern going to come through with that big ol' right click to finish off Caparos for the first time. Give a little space over to their Brood Mother. He does have 40 CS topping the board, but that's going to be a bit of a costly death on the way to his blink.
Just a very, very close kill for the E-Wolf side. They knew that Axe was level 6. He has the Culling Blade, so if you get a little bit too close, you just instantly lose your life. The Bounty Hunter does survive that. The Broodmother does survive that, and crucially, the Bounty Hunter getting the experience from that is probably the biggest factor. But also, like, weirdly enough, bottom lane, well, actually Van is leaving. I guess without the Winter Wyvern and the Bounty, you kind of have to leave, but is he really going to go towards mid now? Is he really going to go towards top now? Van, what's the plan here? I mean, you're doing pretty well in the bottom lane. I'm pretty sure you could continue that when your supports return.
Yeah, and luckily for him, I mean, Live for Your Love is farming and does not have the Vortex just yet, but with the Spell Shield, for that reason, he should be able to survive, but doesn't want to take too much chip damage from the Storm. And maybe they rotate over Smash to the bot lane now. They do need some catch on top of him, though. They don't have a Winter's Curse and won't for a next little while, so I don't know that they really can find the kill on this Ember. We'll see if they're able to do so. Cold Embrace is going to be there onto Mystico, and now they'll definitely look to get aggressive. Bottle refilled as well by the Wyvern, playing double utility. And Smash going to jump forward now. And Searing Chain's going to catch 2, though, with that value Sentry. It's the second time in about 2 minutes that that's been able to secure Searing Chains onto Mystico, and that'll stymie the aggression for now. Top lane, yeah, nothing going on. And Van has been pushed back a little bit mid lane, but almost level 6 now on the Anti-Mage, so hasn't lost too much for having swapped lanes just yet.
I don't think the Storm Spirit can do much about this Anti-Mage. Anti-Mage, well, of course, once he gets level 6, you just pop the Storm Spirit, instantly get the kill. It seems like this is a little bit of a greedier mid lane scenario, perhaps, for the Anti-Mage, but it, of course, ups the aggression down towards bottom, where diving at this point is very easy. And in fact, well, speaking of the devil, we're just going to go in for the dive. Who's going to take 2 quills already? He's going to have to straight TP out. Looks like one more hit is all they need. They won't find him. Will they find Derp Derp? He has to TP out soon as well, and he's hiding, but he's spotted. Will they have enough damage? It looks like they might. Oh, Quill Spray just coming back up, but it's a little bit too late. They dive unsuccessfully for 0 kills, but still, E-Wolves, the fact that they don't get these kills really shouldn't be bothering them that much, because they're still forcing out a hero, at least one hero out of lane every single time. This time it was 2. So
they have dust top
farm
lane.
time that Ember Spirit's not going to find again.
If the Broodmother shows herself here, could be in a lot of trouble. No sentry down for the Dire Ward, spotting out the Storm Spirit, but they are aware that he's not present mid lane, so N3 has yet to show himself, and wisely so. Meanwhile, they're going to cut the wave bottom and look to probably finally bring down this tier 1. So for the entirety of this early game, they've been able to force back these heroes, and now removing their tier 1 will ensure that they're going to be able to occupy this Radiant jungle and continue to force out this Ember Spirit.
Top lane tower starting to take some shots, but it's definitely not going to drop as fast as that mid lane. Seems like E-Wolves, though they do have, like, I want to say, in theory, lanes that are slightly worse, or at least not quite as strong or not quite as solid. They are getting away with it regardless. I mean, Bristleback's at level 1, Broodmother's at position 3, and Anti-Mage is 4th in the net worth chart. And, Storm Spirit getting into a lot of farm. He's going to go straight for the Orchid, trying to lock down that Anti-Mage as much as possible, but Anti-Mage, once he grabs that Manta Style, is going to be completely fine. And hell, even with the Cold Embrace, should be, for the most part, fine. It seems like Root, they really have to get off to a little bit more of an aggressive opening than this. And they will have level 6 on the Storm Spirit, so they can do it now, but I don't really know if there are any viable targets. I feel like they have to kind of catch the Broodmother out of position or the Bounty Hunter out of position if they're going to do that effectively. They also need to not lose Derp on the bottom lane. The positioning from Winter Wyvern, I think, giving that away.
Yeah. They're going to be okay for now. Still pretty starved out as the support silencer. Has 0 intelligence stolen so far. 1,000 net worth. And this is kind of what I hate about the hero in a support role. But see if he's able to find himself some momentum here. Mystico not going to be able to find any aggression on top of the Wyvern. Meanwhile, though, Van going to be scouted out by the Storm Spirit. He will be able to blink away. Does have that bottle for the regen after walking over towards that mid lane. And 1,100 gold in addition to that. Going to start farming the Radiant Jungle. And as aforementioned, once with that tower down, he should be pretty safe to do so.
Bristleback in the meantime farming up a tri-stack of Ancients. And, well, I don't really know if Root know about this. It doesn't seem like they do. Could have easily crashed this, could have easily killed out the Bristleback. There's another bottle now arriving to him, and he should be fine. Axe is still messing with the Broodmother. I think he just got another handful of Spiderlings, but for the most part, this matchup has not really been life-threatening towards the Brood. And yeah, she's lost a couple spiders, but that's about it. He's going to dive the bottom lane, do half of the health damage worth of onto Derp, but then fall back. Woo's now cutting the mid creep wave. This is a very dangerous situation for Ember Spirit to be in, even though he does have an Ember Spirit to jump to.
The
still,
courier?
just being in that position is dangerous in itself.
He almost brings down the courier, but now the Bristleback can rotate and force him out of lane. The Storm Spirit was there, but lacking pretty heavily in the mana department, and won't be able to continue any aggression onto that Bristleback. Smash is a little bit too tanky of a target. Nice deny top lane by N3 on his tier 1, so we'll finally lose that. And we'll have to start farming up the jungle and whatnot, but does have 3,200 gold, so perhaps a Radiance build for N3, and all things considered in terms of the lane matchup, I mean, that's a pretty damn good timing.
It's going to be a Midas instead, which is really weird because he was holding so much gold, he could have had it so much earlier, but Midas on Brood is pretty good, especially if your game plan overall with the Anti-Mage and Bristleback is to play this game a little bit slower. Then, yeah, go ahead and go for that Midas. Again, he could have had it, like a minute ago, maybe 2 minutes ago. They're going to get an angle now into Kappa Ross. Do they have any disables in the area? Well, it seems like Bounty Hunter is a little bit too slow incoming, and the Axe will TP out of there. But, yeah, it is really up to Root to make the first play. Like, late game, Storm Spirit, Ember Spirit, and so I suppose to a lesser degree Silencer, they're all pretty good, but are they anti-mage good? I don't really think they are.
No.
It's just a little bit too much damage.
Not only are they not,
towards Storm Spirit.
not only are they not anti-mage good, they're not good against the anti-mage, so things looking good in terms of the late game for E-Wolves. It's not like Root is starved out of their lanes. I mean, Wu is definitely behind. But Kappa Ross going for that early Vanguard feels like he's not as effective as maybe they want him to be to help to start to get some kills on these other two cores. They have the initiation from Live for Your Love, who now has a point in Vortex, but unable to get active thus far. So I feel like maybe the Blink Dagger was perhaps necessary a little bit earlier here. Of course, against the Brood, and the Bristleback Vanguard is not a bad item, but maybe you need a little bit more early momentum before he gets some points up in that Bristleback. Meanwhile, he will farm a stack, though, so this is going to bring him ever so close to that Blink Dagger now. So still a pretty darn good timing, all things considered, for Kappa Ross, and maybe they look to get aggressive off the back of that pickup.
I feel like even with the ball lightning, even with the remnants that Ember Spirit can use to get in, you really need that Axe to start the jump in, mostly so that you can nullify the Bristleback skill, but even at this point, Smash, I mean, you may be hitting his front, so he doesn't get that passive effect, but he has Power Treads, Strength, he has Magic Wand, and he has a Vanguard, and, well, if necessary, an Invis Rune, so actually killing off Smash, even with everyone jumping in, is going to be really difficult, especially since sometimes Winter Wyvern's going to interfere with that Embrace, and she's actually going to make another triple stack for Smash, who has already cleared it off and has already gotten quite a bit of gold. Oh, Silencer, you're way too far out, bro. There's level 6 on this Bounty Hunter, so this should be a free track kill as long as they don't waste the Shirk, and Derp has no backup anywhere nearby. Broodmother's going to pop the ultimate, and Derp's going to get run down. Yeah, being this far out as any hero is a bad idea, but like Storm Spirit, Ember Spirit, they can probably get away. Silencer definitely can't.
Yeah, and I mean, again, this hero being in a support role, he really wants to be able to find farm across the map, and they're just, with already the tier 1 being down, they have no safe place for him to find that farm. Silencer's pretty abysmal at jungling, so overall, yeah, Derp going to be brought down and continuing to not find much on that Silencer. He's going to place a deep Observer Ward for the Dire side, and maybe look to pressure this tier 1 bottom. Meanwhile, let the split pushing commence with this tier 1 down in the bottom lane. And 3 going to make his home and start to continue to pressure the bottom side of the map as the rest of his heroes are assemble up towards mid lane. He's going to be accompanied by Caparos bot lane. Doesn't have any Spiderlings with him, so this call is going to be pretty underwhelming at this point. Mystical can rotate in, is fairly low. Does have that Battle Hunger ticking, but can at least refresh the track if nothing else. He's going to back off for now, though, this Dire Observer Ward, giving them enough intel to know that a few heroes rotating down to the south towards them.
The first usage of Blink Dagger on Axe is not exactly overwhelming here. He used it and actually missed a call, so that's not exactly ideal. They really do need the Axe at this point just to make space. Like, again, Storm Spirit, Ember Spirit, those are heroes that can do something very similar, but they haven't. So someone needs to do something aggressive towards the E-Wolves side, because E-Wolves are just pulling root back and forth between all their lanes. Top lane now has someone farming it, and it's going to be Van, so his Battle Fury is going to be very close to completed. Oh, now they're going to catch the Broodmother. Finally, will they have enough damage to kill her off? Seems like she will. Well, take a Chain Frost hit. That's about it. Caparos needs another call, though it isn't there. They have the dunk. Barely getting enough damage to kill off the Broodmother. Finally, Root get on the board, and they kill off the Broodmother to do it. So, yeah, it's about freaking time for them. Can they do it again, though?
They expended 2 sentries for it as well, and it was a really nice play from N3. There was actually a sentry here and one here as well. As he's deeping out, he put his Spiderlings on it and brought it down, but this one just in range as the Broodmother was about there to call her up. So nicely played by the Axe. But yeah, as you mentioned, they probably want a little bit more out of the Blink Dagger reveals here, and only finding that Brood, and she's just going to respawn and get back to work bot lane as the rest of her lineup continues to create space alongside her for this Battle Fury on Van. But speaking of which, Van will be brought down just before picking it up. Nice first pick off for that Storm Spirit. He will buy out the Ring of Health, but that's going to take about 250 gold away from him, and he's going to be a little bit further away now from what would have been about a 17-minute Battle Fury.
Alright, so the timings are still here for Root. They got the Blink Dagger on the Axe. They have the Orc on Storm, but over towards mid, Stanking's in a lot of trouble. Arctic Burn is already active, so Stanking is going to get slowed down very by a lot, and with one more Cool Spray, they'll take down the Lich. That's one track kill here for Gigi. He's going to look for another. Ember Spirit has 4 Quills on him. He's got to be super careful, and they might actually get Caparos here as well. Curse is going to have a good drop on the Ember Spirit. Axe is going to go and work on his own ally, and he's also in trouble right now. Another track will be thrown just to refresh that. 2 track kills for Smash. You know, getting a little bit of damage done, but never really in lethal range. That's really where you want to have your Storm Spirit jump in. But Storm was preoccupied in the jungle, I suppose, so they end up giving away a hell of a lot of gold towards the E-Wolves. That's going to be Smash's almost Sanjanyasha completed.
Yeah, meanwhile, chip damage being committed bot lane on the tier 2 in the meantime, and it's almost around 50% HP. So Ember Spirit's sticking around, I think, far too long there mid lane, feeds over quite a bit, and is only 1,000.
Not again.
Yeah,
Shuriken. He's just so dead right now. Another
And
track
it's a kill for Van as well, so it's going to be helping him towards the Battle Fury. That'll be the full Perseverance, and now Battle Fury going to come over only about a minute delayed after that pick. Meanwhile, mid lane, Cold Embrace going to be out onto Smash. He's almost in call range here. The Chain Frost should put him there, and they are able to bring him down. Masoku able to rotate out. Blink is available from Caparos, but stop casting it. Meanwhile, N3 going to look for a Roshan here.
I love the from the bristleback. Oh shit, I'm in trouble. I'm gonna deny this range creep first. Like, that was just, I mean, you probably wouldn't have made the difference there, but Broodmother, you know, doing a decent amount of work onto Roshan. With Vlad's, yeah, that's kind of nice, but now her Spiderling army is completely gone, so I feel like she will need help from, ideally, the bristleback here, so you get a little bit of minus armor from the goo, but I'm not really sure if Broodmother can do this super comfortably without any sort of significant damage output. Maybe she can get away with it, but it's gonna be really slow.
And unfortunate for them to have the Bristleback die mid there. He will respawn now, and they do have that tier 1 both in the mid and the bottom lane. So Bristleback should be able to join her fairly soon. Van gonna even join. With that Battle Fury and the Vlads, they should be able to bring it down pretty quickly. And Smash gonna rotate in now. The Radiant Vision is pretty scarce around this portion of the map, so they're not gonna actually see this Roshan attempt. We'll see if they're privy to it. And that if that's indicated by their movements, but it's going to be a little bit too little too late even if they are, and the Roshan will go down and probably give this one over the Bristle. Yeah, they do end up doing so. Smash going to be able to grab that. Meanwhile, the Axe does pick off Mystico in that mid lane, but he'll respawn in 30 seconds, and with that Aegis up, they should probably be able to put some pressure towards mid as N3 does the same towards bottom.
Yeah, they just saw the Bounty Hunter walk in, they blinked in, they ball lightninged in, and they remnanted in. And then the bounty hunter just exploded. It wasn't even close. But, you know, going into that Roche pit should be in the game plan of Root. Like, they have the global silence. They have all the ways of initiating. That's really where their lineup is, you know, potentially at its strongest even. But unfortunately, have to settle for a bounty hunter kill.
Bot lane.
That's just not good enough.
Spiderlings aplenty available now bot lane, and they need to make a reaction to this very soon. With Mikelorus, if else they will lose this tower bot lane, and maybe too late. They have a glyph available, does the Radiant.
Derp's gonna get obliterated by the Splinter Blast, and Bristleback, he's just taunting them right now. He knows that he's super tanky, has an Embrace behind him, has Aegis, and this is everyone from Root. I mean, I think they have to assemble over in mid to try to deal with this, but in the meantime, Winter Wyvern gonna poke over the trees, slow down Stanking just a touch. Track is there. Call will be a little bit too late. Won't even be there at all because he's getting hit with the curse. They do jump in on the Storm Spirit with the pullback on the Winter Wyvern. Won't get the kill there. Cull will get the kill. Anti-Mage just looking for someone to Mana Void, but Mikelorus now on the way out is gonna fall. This is, by the way, a 4v5 engagement since Broodmother is now chipping at the tier 3s, and by chipping, I mean chunking. This tower not going to last long at all, though. Ember Spirit's going to come in looking for some spiders, gets a handful, it's like 70 gold, something like that, not bad. But they get absolutely cleaned up in the mid lane, plus tracks included, plus they lose a tier 2 tower in the bottom lane, plus they might even lose a tier 2 tower in the mid lane as well. Evils are just pulling them apart, and they're going to jump in for the Bristleback, but he's going to die here. Maybe he will just lose the Aegis. Can they kill him again? They don't have that much mana on the Storm Spirit. I feel like he just walks out smashed. He'll get chained down, but his back is facing them, so he's taking pretty much nothing from this.
Yeah, and they have the track movement speed as well to help them to get away. Now they need to attend to their bottom lane once again. And 3 going to continue to be the split pushing menace. Top lane, TPs are inbound from the Storm Spirit. He's tracked up, and they're going to look to pincer him here. They do not have a Winter's Curse, however. The Orchid will be popped up onto Smash. Smash in a little bit of trouble. Van going to try and rotate in. They have the Cold Embrace. Are they going to be able to get it off? No. Blink forward and the call is there. They're going to get the taunt off into Van. Double kill going the Axe's way. And he's got the extra movement speed from the Culling Blade as well. 2 seconds till a call is available. He's got a blink. This is going to be air on Masoku. Are they able to follow it up? They do have a couple right clicks from the Overload. The Orchid is there as well. Triple kill. No. 1 going the way of the Storm Spirit. 3 kills though. And they're able to defend up bot lane in the meantime.
Maybe 4
engagements.
He shows his face, big ball lightning in, and still Storm Spirit's out of mana, but it looks like he might be out of time. There's also no more mana on Axe, so it looks like with the tanks being dry, he will be able to slip away, and good for him, but it's a questionable play to say the least from the E-Wolf side. The classic, let's try to go for the Storm Spirit kill without having any crowd control. Like, that's never gonna work, so I don't really know why they even tried. And Storm Spirit was like, hey, I know I can't die here, so I might as well just turn around and right-click, see how much damage I could do. And it turns out it's enough damage to kill off a Bristleback, who was also just, you know, walking through towers and wasn't at full HP to start things off. So E-Wolves kind of making just a really careless mistake, and I mean this time the split push is doing a little bit of work for the Broodmother, but it wasn't even that much since Ember Spirit was there to deal with it. It was really just the Axe and the Storm Spirit killing off all of those heroes, and that was only because E-Wolves made a really big mistake.
Meanwhile, N3 hasn't found all that much. Should have an item coming out now. It does have that full BKB up, so can look to fight. Aside from split pushing here, it's not going to be a Desolator just yet, as at this point Wu deals decently with the level 4 Flame Guard, 3 levels inside of Fist with the Spiderlings, so maybe a little bit giving up on the split push. He is going to have his Battle Fury. He's still a little, actually still a ways away from that. Needs another 1,800 gold or so, and we'll TP back as N3 is going to tend to this. And meanwhile, movement from the rest of his squad is going to try and wrap around this tier 1 bottom lane. They're not going to find fruit, though, just yet. And Storm Spirit, as he is kind of the only hero able to do so, going to be farming on the unsafe side of the map. He's going to zip down now, though, and they do have a Winter's Curse available. He's going to get the Orchid off. The track should be there. Mechanism keeps the Wyvern up. The Global Silence, though, will keep them from cursing. Shuriken, not going to be there in time. For your love, able to make it out. Meanwhile, bottom lane, BKB pop. They're going in onto the Axe, and Van is going to burn most of his mana. Mana Void should be there. Barely surviving, will die off, and now they're going to try and chase forward for this Ember Spirit. He's got 1 Remnant now available, and he's got 1 by the side shop. He's going to try and be there. Van will not be able to bring him down in time.
Good read, though. I mean, if the damage isn't there, it's just not there. It's not possible. They kill off the Axe. trade that for the Winter Wyvern, and, well, perhaps an even more valuable asset down the tubes for Root is the fact that now they have no global silence. So if E-Wolves wanted to go for a straight push, and it seems like they may want to in the bottom lane, Root will struggle to defend that. There are split pushing well enough so that that's not going to be an immediate threat, but no global silence for Root is really going to stymie their fights. Really, until the BKB is up on the Storm Spirit and/or Ember Spirit, just being able to jump in, yeah, it's possible, but it's also dangerous. Root, ooh, Derp's going to drop a sentry right in time, as the Spiderlings were right nearby, although they're still going to be chucked in towards Stan King. Maybe they're going to jump in, looking for the Broodmother, chain her down. She has no BKB, she'll try to straight TP out, but the Chain Frost will cancel that. And now Broodmother is just going to have to deal with this Ember Spirit. The backup is not really there, and it looks like, well, she's just going to be laid out to dry. Where is the backup? The backup's not even coming.
Yeah, you got to put one right click into him as well for that incapacitating bite before you try that. But either way, it's probably a good usage of the Chain Frost, and it is going to dissuade the dire side from pushing in, despite Global being on cooldown still now for 30 seconds. So that is going to buy them enough time for that cooldown to come back up, as it is level 2. So the Silencer has found decent levels at this point, sitting atop all 4 supports, in fact, and has been pretty much not present in really any engagements aside from those first solo deaths early on. So has been able to quietly find some farm here, while the Axe and the Storm Spirit continue to create some space. Still, though, the Tricore of E-Wolves is atop the net worth chart, and there's a Manta out for Van now.
Man fight up against the Storm Spirit. Manta-style illusions, he'll burn a lot of mana trying to get away. Now tracked up and cursed up. Van has the Mana Void. That'll pop the Storm. That's an easy track kill for the E-Wolves side. Of course, they had to be in the correct position to... and the Storm Spirit had to go exactly in that direction to fall, but hey, it worked out for the E-Wolves side. Yeah, they trade up the Broodmother on the bottom lane, but they gain the Storm up towards top, and he just picked up his Bloodstone, it seems. He has now 5 charges. It's certainly not the worst, but it's definitely not the greatest start to a Bloodstone, an item that already got really neutered. Storm Spirit will be up soon, but for E-Wolves, this Anti-Mage, showing off how much damage he does, there's another 1,500 gold in the bank, but perhaps most importantly, Manta style is up for him, so he has the response to the Global Silence, or the Orchid, or hopefully for him, both.
Yeah. Bristleback soon to have an AC as well on top of it, so we'll be able to ramp up the push for them. N3 still having a little bit of trouble shoving in the wave bottom, and mid lane Dire is going to scout both the rotations in from the Axe and the Ember, so we should see this Bristleback probably back off alongside Mystical soon, but sticking around for a little bit here.
Uh-oh.
And Mystical is going to be scouted. Blink forward call is going to find the Bristleback. They're going to jump forward with the Orchid, and the Global will be there to cover this kill. He's very tanky, though, surviving for quite a while. And the Wyvern actually going to try and rotate in to save him, and Masoku will now feed over his own life because of it. Meanwhile, the lane's not nearly pushed in enough bottom for the Radiant to really be punished for this at all. So a nice couple kills going their way. They lose the Lich, but no big deal.
Yeah, I mean, that's an expendable hero for the Root side, though it was a track kill, which makes it, of course, a little bit more expensive. Getting the Bristleback in of itself is huge, and the Winter Wyvern kind of sticking around, thinking if the Global Silence will time out so that she can embrace the Bristleback, maybe heal him up to full, or, at least enough to get away, or maybe even turn around and fight, but obviously that's not going to be the case. E-Wolves, I think, just disrespecting the fact that Global Silence at this point is level 2, and does last for quite a long time. 5 seconds doesn't sound like a lot, but it feels like forever when you're playing against it. So they're going to lose their 2 heroes, and unfortunately, again, the timings are not really great for them to go into the Roche Pit. This is something that Root, even without Global Silence, can contest if they only knew about it. And it doesn't seem like they do. At least they're not making any movement towards this area.
Yeah, Van and 3 are going to be able to take this without really any reaction coming out from the Radiant, and an Aegis on the Anti-Mage will allow him to farm up aggressively in the Radiant jungle, which will maybe allow them to bait out the Broodmother hereafter. And he will be able to rotate in on top of that, but we'll see how it pans out. Storm Spirit going to pick up a Void Stone on top of his Bloodstone, so maybe just the Eul Scepter for now. Keep him a little bit more safe from that Anti-Mage, and able to get out when they counter-initiate on top of him with the Axe. Bristleback with the Crimson Guard, or with the Vanguard, and the Plate Mail going to jump up as the Siege Engine mid lane, and they're going to get a couple tracks out. Van is here with an invisibility rune as well. I don't know if he was pinged out by the Radiant there, but it seems like maybe they're somewhat aware of this. Shiva's going to be picked up by the Axe as well, so they are, in a sense, fight ready. The jump in, though, from Mystical is going to track him up and find him out. They're going to throw in the illusions for now to start beating away. They do have popped the Crimson Guard already, so that will be down here. And now Smash going to rotate through, catches the last word. He's going to throw down onto the Axe. The Axe getting a little bit low. Mana Void could be there. And the rotating in N3 is going to come through onto the Ember Spirit as well. Winter's Curse is there onto the Storm. They're going to bring him down with relative ease. The Remnant will be able to Remnant back out. But this is going to be a forfeit tier 2 in the mid lane. Cold Embrace will keep Smash from being brought down by the Culling Blade. And pretty much everyone tracked up as well from the Radiant side. The Global is up, but short on mana is the Silencer for now. And N3 going to bring down the bottom lane tier 3. Bristleback a little bit low, but still fighting strong. Shuriken going to bounce through too. It's going to force the Ember Spirit out. Cold Embrace keeps him healthy for now. They still know Storm Spirit for 20 seconds. Jump through. Sleight of Fist, Searing Chains will be there. Last word is there onto the Bristle as well. They will be able to dunk him up. And 60 seconds on the sideline with no buyback. That's probably going to force them out now. Van has the Aegis. He can jump in on top of N3. Has a Void as well. And Kaparos was completely out of mana, but just playing it safe for now, it seems. They do get the tier 3 bottom lane. And that's about it. Don't force a buyback out on the Storm Spirit, though. So despite getting that kill, it's more or less a wash. I mean, feeding over the Bristleback is quite a bit of gold and experience for almost the entire lineup. Only the Storm Spirit not involved in that kill.
Yeah, that was a little bit too much overcommitment there from the E-Wolf side. They do take down tier 3 tower, which is of course very nice. I think the problem with that push at that time was the fact that, yeah, Anti-Mage has his Aegis, and with his net worth, you would think an Anti-Mage would be willing to push, but all of it, or most of his net worth was tied up in gold, which is going to now translate into a heart. If he had that, then E-Wolves go in, no problem whatsoever. They probably just bust up the high ground and maybe take range Raxes, maybe take an even fight. I think that's probably the worst case scenario, they take an even fight, but instead, because the Anti-Mage had like 5,000 gold tied up in just gold, that's not helping him right now. The E-Wolf side couldn't fully commit. Yet still, they're able to take a series of good fights. I mean, they bring down the Storm Spirit really quickly, and Bloodstone charges probably not going to be super easy for the Storm Spirit to accrue in this game, especially now that the Anti-Mage has a heart, and he still has a little bit of time for Aegis, 2 minutes until that's reclaimed. Van suddenly is 100% fight ready, and as long as he's able to get onto his target with the help of Winter's Curse, and that is going to be Blink Dagger Winter's Curse, then they'll be able to look for these fights really on anyone, and they actually do see everyone right now with the Spiderlings. Observer Ward is going to be instantly cleared out by Kaparos, but now here comes Smash. They're going to curse up the Storm Spirit. Anti-Mage is going to jump right in. The Blink Call is not there in time, but they don't have enough damage to kill the Storm. Now Chain Frost bouncing through, doing a hell of a lot of damage. Will be dragged away, finally, by the Bristleback. He's stuck in a corner right now with his back to the enemies. Will be embraced up, will not die just yet, but will get called out of it. Storm Spirit just going to leave, but in the meantime, they lose the Silencer. No Global Silence anymore, and now they'll look for Wu, who's dropping very low. Has a Remnant to jump to, and he will get very far away. Now onto Kaparos, they're going to try to go. He's getting a decent amount of spins. We'll try for the call. Won't work. It'll give Van a double kill. In the meantime, on the side, he's going to find the teleporting Ember Spirit. Won't be able to interrupt that TP yet, but still for E-Wolves, they get a 3-0, and I think the scariest thing is that the Anti-Mage took no damage from that and still has the Aegis.
Yeah, Bristleback going to be cold and braced up, so they definitely can look to poke at high ground, if not take some structures here, and there's only the buyback available on the Silencer, who of course does not have global for this engagement, and therefore should be definitely this bottom lane forfeit. And they have some good poke with the Ember Spirit, and Wu has recovered in farm admirably, but still doesn't feel like they can fight at this point. Van still has the Aegis for another 40 seconds or so, so is going to probably play very far forward here. Live for Your Love, of course, a pretty elusive target for them to jump in onto without the Winter's Curse available. And they'll just rotate over to the north to find this tier 3 in the mid lane. Sleight of Fist, Searing Chains. Manta will be there from Van. They'll take the tier 3 and back out. And they do force out the buyback from the initiating axe, so definitely a win there overall, and nice blink out from Van. Good reactions from him, going to keep him safe. Manta was on cooldown, as he did just use it mid lane, so Orchid could have secured a death on him.
Going back in.
Shivas?
Going right in onto Derp right now. That's the primary target. Van is silenced right now, but he's just not taking any damage. Now the curse is there onto the Storm Spirit. His allies are beating down. They'll pop the Storm Spirit. Mana Void also spilling onto everyone else. Chain Frost is doing quite a bit of damage as is the Sleight of Fist, but it's not enough to kill off Van. We're chasing after the Lich. They'll take down the Lack who's stuck in the middle of the fight. Chain Frost still bouncing, but you can see how much E-Wolves care. They actually don't. The Lich actually is able to TP out of there, but they lose the Storm and the Axe, and that in and of itself means that there's really no more defense here from Root, especially having no Axe. Silencer's going to buy back in 15 seconds. That'll be maybe worth it, but I don't even think there's enough damage output to kill Van here or Bristleback. Van is not going to get a full restore from the Aegis, and Bristleback is sitting in tier 4 tower range. As tanky as maybe, that might be a little bit too much, but now with the Embrace, going to get right back up to near full. Van is right outside the enemy fountain, is going to grab a Basher and then be on his way. E-Wolves are now 2 Raxes above Root, and they're trying to make some response with this Ember Spirit. He's going to do quite a bit of damage to Van. Can he kill him off? With the global silence there, Van can't blink, but it looks like he'll get away. He's going to get that removed actually by the Lotus. They're just going to turn around, beat down the Ember. Now going for Derp Derp. Can't escape a Bristleback, and he's going to fall as well. Good game, well played is called. And E-Wolves, I mean, a lot faster than last game, but just a similar fashion, they dismantled Root.
Yeah, I mean, this game was a lot more methodical for them. It doesn't feel like they were really behind at any phase in the game. They've had over maybe a couple costly deaths towards that mid game, especially top when they tried to go in on the Storm Spear without any Winter's Curse available to them. But really just executed their game plan as exactly as it was drafted. It felt like at every point in the draft, they kind of picked up the hero that they wanted to get. And shut down Wu really, really heavily early on. And as you mentioned, I mean, when you fare that well with an aggressive tri lane centered around an anti-mage, that's definitely going to bode well for the future.
All right, guys. Well, this is going to be the end of the first set. We got Keed and Pain and Root versus Void Boys coming up, well, I mean, 26 minutes ago. A little bit delayed, but hey, what are you going to do? I'm Mikelorus. I've been joined by MRP. I don't really know if we're going to be necessarily covering the next ones, perhaps in the future, but Grant is going to be taking over the stream right now for Keed versus Pain, which is going to be coming up next. If you enjoyed the cast, be sure to stick around because there is more Dota to be coming your way. Also follow us on Twitter at Mikelorus, at mrpdota. It's all on the screen. It's all in the title. But for right now, guys, congratulations to E-Wolves, and let's try to hurry over to the next game. We'll be right back.